Episode number 409.
Probably the best lessons my dad gave me when I was growing up was, find something you enjoy doing and figure out a way to make money at it.
Right.
So, I love what I do for a living. Every day is a new challenge. Every day is a new beginning.
Welcome to the Be Real Show with Travis Too Tall and Huff, where we talk about life, dreams, social media, and business.
Well, hello and welcome to the Be Real Show with Travis Too Tall and Huff. Folks, you know your boy is always fired up, ready to bring you a little excitement, value, entertainment, and joy in your days, nights, weekends, or whenever you are listening to the show today. But after this show, I think you're going to want to think about your design, how it's engineered to your business, your brand. And if it is not, there is many things you can do with your design as well as, engineering. We're going to talk about technology and many things. We're on Zoom right now, baby. But we're talking to an expert in the game, someone that's won Addy Awards, and we're going to get into the nitty gritties. But Mr. Nick Collins, Nick, are you ready to be real?
I am ready.
Let's go. So Nick is the CEO of Sartorius Digital. It's a full digital media agency and Addy Award winner. I know that because I sat on the board of the American, my local form of the Ad Federation. And a lot of times you're submitting for the Addies, tons of respect and acumen around getting an Addy. And you've really focused your energy and efforts around the web and mobile application creator space, as well as many things in digital media as well. We're going to get into that. And then you, interestingly enough, were one of the first people being called kind of a pet nickname or kind of a slogan around this thought around designing and computer engineering background, where it wasn't like you were just only into the artsy, into the palette types and all that, as much as you were also into the engineering side of how this is going to roll out, lay out, and actually make happen, is with that engineering mindset. But take me back into the business before we get into that. Were you always into business? Were you always into starting things and starting projects and also design, how things looked?
Yeah, actually, I started my first web business when I was in junior high. I was 14 years old, and this is back when the web was still really new. Like HTML3 was like the current thing. IE, I don't even think was around yet. We just had Mozilla. The only thing we used for writing the code of a web page was Notepad on a Windows computer, So we were talking about like hardcore. You're just coding everything by hand from scratch, and I got really interested in it. Saw a lot of potential for it, and this is back when the epitome of like design on the web was to have the little animated GIF of a hula girl or a torch on your page, right? So
the simplest things we were happy with. The simplest things we were happy with.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Simple pleasures, right?
Right. But yeah, it was hard to do that. It was hard to do that back then. It was those things.
It was. And man, we broadband back then, right? It was like dial up. You had to wait like 5 minutes just to get online, right? It sounded like a jet was taking off in your house every time you wanted to get online.
Right. Download a photo or download a video. It's like you're going to spend a whole day downloading that music file.
Yeah. It wasn't just, I'm going to go get a coffee while this is happening. It's like, okay, I'm going to go on vacation, come back, and it'll be done.
Back up the PC. We're ready, baby.
But yeah, I saw a ton of potential in it though. And so I started kind of doing it as a hobby, and actually eventually someone came to me and say, hey, can you build me a web page? I was like, yeah, sure. They got this idea. I was like, hey, I could make some money doing this. So I just started putting some ads in like some bulletin boards and things like that. And it was actually pretty funny because we started getting phone calls to the house, and we didn't have cell phones and crap back then.
Right.
So they started calling our home number. My parents are getting this, these calls going, you're asking for what? For who?
The business owner, baby.
I was like, hey, exactly. It was, 14 years old. That was the only phone number I had accessible to me, right?
Right.
So, use what you got. But so I got started back then. We're talking like 94-ish. 93, 94. So, it's been a while.
But so back then, it was based on, people didn't know a lot about website development. The fact that you could actually do it was a key thing. The fact that no matter what your age was, you could develop a product, a website back then was a huge thing. And so you just capitalize on that skill. Like I always remind people, there's skills right now that people aren't taking advantage of, that you could take advantage of for them. Now that obviously websites have been figured out a little bit more. Now there's a lot more into website development, design, branding, all that kind of good stuff. But bottom line is, there's fruit just sitting on the fields right now, just the same way it was back then. It's just you have to figure it out. You got to work on it, and obviously at the end of the day, monetize it by making that money, baby. So that was your start to getting a check or getting a cash or getting some sort of payment around your service, baby. And that what then that point, was that like the fuel that was like, wow, I want to do this for the rest of my life? Were you hooked on business from then on, or was it just kind of like, this is a cool hobby, I'm going to keep seeing what's going on? And where did it take you from there?
Yeah, so at the time that was just kind of like a fun hobby. I just kind of doing on the side for a little extra money type of thing. But my real passion at the time was in film. I wanted to get into like Toy Story and those kinds of things coming out. It's like, man, doing that 3D animation, that looks so awesome. I wanted to do that. Right. And so I took the money that I earned from working and bought high-end 3D computing equipment, software and stuff like that. Like some of the pro level stuff to learn it. And even when I went to college for film and video production, that's what I wanted to do. Of course, this was like during the 2001, the .com bubble burst. Living in Michigan at the time, had the bottom drop out of the auto industry at the same time. When I came back from my freshman year of college at film school, I literally couldn't get a job at McDonald's. They were on a hiring freeze. It was that bad. And so I was like, okay, well, I got to figure out how to pay off the student loan that I had to take out to complete this last year. Some of those expenses I didn't anticipate, like having to buy several 400-foot rolls of film and then get it developed. It ain't cheap,
right?
So because we had to do everything manually. This was before we had digital editing was a really big thing. I mean, they had a couple of Avids there at the school, but those were reserved for the seniors. We were doing everything on like Premiere, and you had to shoot everything on film and then scan it in, and that was pricey. Wow. Like $1,200 a project that you did. Wow. So I hadn't anticipated that and had to take out a loan to be able to do that. But it's like, man, I got to figure out a way to pay this off. And I'll fall back on my, my hobby business that I've been doing of web design, and kind of took off from there. I was really fortunate enough that there was this little known technology back then called Flash that I was fortunate enough. My uncle was at like a computer convention. I think it was Comdex actually out in Vegas, and had bumped into these guys that were handing out discs of this new software they were building. They called it Future Splash Animator, right? Wow. And he was like, well, hey, I know my nephew's into that web stuff. I'll go ahead and grab one of these demo discs from him. Wow. There was a beta copy of the stuff. And I got hooked on it right off the bat. Then, of course, Macromedia bought it, renamed it to Flash. Then Adobe bought it later on. But, that's kind of like one of my claims to fame is that I was using Flash before it was Flash. Wow. And, so I was, at kind of the top of my game. Then, of course, Steve Jobs wrote his famous letter on Flash and essentially killed thousands of careers with a stroke of a pen, or in his case, the stroke of an Apple Pencil. Right. We went from, getting calls from headhunters 3-4 times a week, be able to write our own checks going into places with our, 15, 20 years experience doing this stuff, to not be able to find work anywhere. It was crazy.
So you had another reset happen even after you got going, even after the business was very successful. I mean, you were just able to close as many deals as you basically were getting, to where he changed the game for Flash.
Absolutely. And it wasn't even like a subtle change or, okay, you've got time to adjust. It was almost like, the pandemic shut down. Wow. It's like, okay, your entire world happened to change in like 6 weeks. It's like, you go from being in super demand to almost being a pariah. I actually started taking Flash off of my resume and just, leaving as generic, software development or things like that.
Because people negative. It was like a negative.
Don't want to touch that.
Got you. So it was had negative sentiment at some point.
Yeah. And I know some guys that, that had opposite, experience, but they were kind of few and far between. Most of the top guys I know, they took Flash off their resume and just replaced it with JavaScript or whatever, saying, hey, they're close enough. It's a good analog. If I knew Flash, I can do the JavaScript and kind of figure it out as I go along for those little idiosyncrasies.
Right.
And a lot of us ended up doing that.
Yeah.
But
because that was the next big thing.
Crazy times.
JavaScript was then the next big kind of language that took over after that for a while.
Oh, absolutely. And it still is. I mean, it's still one of the only languages that you can pretty much write for any platform out there. All the Internet of Things and all the stuff going on. The dashboard on your Tesla, is running JavaScript on there.
So it's pretty universal still today, guys. Remember this.
It really is.
It's a universal language to start, even if there's a lot of other more advanced things you can do. Like you said, the scale of the JavaScript is that it's working on so many different devices.
Well, that's because the web is being taken everywhere, right? So, find a device out there that isn't internet enabled today. I mean, they're not very many of them, even your refrigerator these days, Right. And so, if it's web enabled, chances are it's running JavaScript.
That's crazy. So that for anyone that's getting intrigued, that is just something to learn about. Just type in JavaScript on the internet, start learning, go watch some informative YouTube videos. Obviously a lot of people already have the mindset for it. They're going to be gravitated, but if you want to learn, I think that you can learn these things too, right? I mean, sometimes you see.
Absolutely. I mean, you go to your local library, it's going to have, some introductory books. They may be a little dated, but hey, that's enough to get you started. Right. Check out a few books from your local library. You don't even need an expensive computer. You can, there's free things like CodePen and things like that you can use online to be able to kind of mess around with it until you get, you have some money saved up to actually buy software. But even the tooling nowadays, you got VS Code, you got Sublime. There's dozens of free tools for coding nowadays that are available that we didn't have way back then. You're either using Notepad or you're using something like Visual Studio. Even now it's like a $3,000 development environment if you want to go that route. So it wasn't cheap to get into it. If you wanted to have all those, fancy bells and whistles. Right.
But like you said, now the playing field's completely equal, and that you want to get started. There's tons of free learning, tons of free application sources, and that basically, software that lives on the internet that you can use and test and play with, and until you're ready, or, even maybe you don't get ready to that, but you just keep using those things, bootstrap it all the way along, along the way, and then to obviously the point to, you need a bigger software to handle bigger projects and things like that. Obviously the cash is flowing at that point. I'm a huge believer in the bootstrap.
Presumably you're getting paid at that point, right?
Yeah. The checks are coming in at that point, baby. I always say, that's the biggest thing about the business is if you've never got a check before for around the business, it's just kind of a hobby, right? Like it's just a fun thing you like to do. Nothing wrong with that.
Exactly.
But that's the thing that people forget is that getting a check or getting a payment, crypto, wire, however it looks like to you, Cash App nowadays, whatever that looks like to you. But getting that payment is so important first, because once you get that first payment, baby, you can get the second, third, fourth, like you learned early on when you were just selling the websites, hey, I got a phone number now and I can take business calls, and after you get a few clients on built-in websites, the third one and the fourth one. And the best part now, Nick, that we didn't have when we were kids is that, all these things are out there. They're all free.
Absolutely.
They're all ready for you, baby. So I always say that. Just never.
Well, the social media, the things that you can do with that, without having to put out any cash. I mean, you can do paid ads, but you can do very well with organic as well nowadays. If you spend some time on YouTube learning how.
Right. Everything is either time or money, baby. So you either spend the money in the ads, or you spend the time learning and do the Mr. Beast model and edit and learn all the hard routes. You got to learn one of the two, and somewhere in between too. We're all somewhere in between. I always say the most important thing is you just keep on doing it. If that's what you want to do, you learn. You don't leave any excuses. You want a podcast? Record, baby. We're coming up over 400 something shows, baby. Hit that podcast record.
Congratulations.
Button. Thank you, my man. Thank you, brother. Thank you. Definitely over 400.
That's the great thing about this technology nowadays. It's become so commoditized. It really doesn't matter, what socioeconomic position you find yourself in. Anybody can find a way to walk to their local library to get access to these things who doesn't have a Facebook account, who doesn't have these things, and the knowledge, the information is out there. You just have to have the drive to go for it. It doesn't matter who you are, you can do it.
100. I love that message, dude, because it doesn't matter what you're doing, but that's such a great message because right now there's just no excuses. So take me into now, scaled in. We're in now 2022. Talk to me about the agency now because you guys have won Addy Awards. You guys are at a whole nother level in game. Mm-hmm. Talk to me about the sweet spot of kind of the customers you like to work with and kind of the things you guys really, if you want to call it niche down to, or just love doing for clients.
Sure. So up until 2017, 2018, our primary focus, honestly, was the enterprise, right? We're like, hey, that's where the money's at. We're signing 6-7 figure deals, and everything was good, but we started seeing a shift in the market,
right?
And then coronavirus happened, which I think we could all agree that it sucked, big time for a lot of people.
Big time.
Careers were destroyed, businesses were destroyed.
Yeah.
But at the same time, anytime you have cataclysmic events like that, there's also opportunity, right? That goes along with that. If you have your eyes open and are able to see it.
Right.
And one of the things I noticed is you have a lot of small business owners out there who are really struggling because they're now suddenly thrust in this position where they were forced to try and figure out, how am I going to interface with my customers? How am I going to reach them? How am I going to do business with them when my brick and mortar model is essentially impossible right now? People aren't coming into the stores.
Right.
If they do, there's all these restrictions and regulations that I now have to try and figure out how to work around and how to deal with. And,
totally.
It just made their lives really, really difficult. And I really saw that as, this is a way I can help because I've got a lot of experience working with these big companies. And there's a lot of things I've learned over my, 20 years of doing that I can take that to these little guys. Say, right. Hey, look, these big concepts you see, like digital business transformation and all these buzzwords and everything like that. It's like, this is not something just for the enterprise. It's not something just for the big guys.
Right.
This is something that can be accessible to the little guys too. I mean, excuse me, you got your mom and pop shop that now they need to figure out, okay, I need to be able to take orders online.
Oh, absolutely.
Dude,
absolutely.
I got to be able to figure out how to be able to do these things. How
right.
can I reach my customers? I'm not running ads in the paper anymore. I need to be able to reach them on Facebook. I need to be able to reach them on, YouTube, et cetera,
yes.
Depending on the kind of business they are,
right.
Your Google local listings, things like that. And these things become so important. And most of them never bothered with any of it. They never learned how to do any of it because that wasn't their business model. It was like, hey, people walk in my store, they look around, I see what they need, I sell them something, end of day.
Right.
And people were forced to make this shift so rapidly. And, having been in that position a couple times in my career where I was forced to make massive, rapid pivots, that kind of survival instinct that is there.
Right.
Like, what? These people needed some help. And so I was like, let's take what we've learned. Let's take our service offering and say, what? Not everybody's got to be a 6-figure client.
Right.
Let's take this and, knock this down a few notches, make it accessible to the SMBs out there, the small and medium-sized businesses who are trying to figure out how to deal with this new environment.
Absolutely. Dude, it's so important. So what are the main things that you guys are doing for them besides maybe having a website and things like that? Is there any sweet spots of things that you guys are offering them right now, just so we can intrigue the listeners?
I think probably, a lot of these customers, e-commerce is, of course, the biggest thing. They need to be able to take in orders and, then deliver on those using electronic means rather than, the face-to-face physical, kind of fulfillment of a thing.
Right.
Those are probably one of the biggest things that's most important, be able to set up an online store. These are not things that today have to be really complicated or expensive. I mean, we're not in the days where, you got to create your own eBay or your own Amazon in order to be able to do business online.
Right.
You can get WordPress or Shopify, at relatively low cost as far as, initial investment. Of course, you get a lot of traffic, you get a lot of things, volume and things like that will increase costs, but presumably with volume also comes additional revenue. So it just becomes a cost basis.
Cash flow.
Exactly. But it opens up opportunities where it used to be. I remember back in the day, we all used shared servers and things like GeoCities to put sites up because those were the only options available if you wanted to have like your own like full-fledged website, and you were getting like a dedicated server that was going to run you a few $1,000s to buy the server.
Crazy.
You need to find a data center to put it in and pay for the bandwidth, and bandwidth was so expensive back then.
Right.
And you'd be paying, $3-4 grand a month for a T1, which now my mobile phone has, better bandwidth than that.
Wow.
So, things have changed a lot in the last, 20 plus years that have really made these things accessible to the everyday person. The problem is they don't have anybody to kind of guide them through that process if they're not tech savvy themselves.
Right. And you have also the design and branding experience as well, which there's a piece to that, to making the design look good, the colors you use, the elements you use after you've had success with these big boys. It's easier to scale that down to a small business owner. And I think it's more impactful for them too, if they're able to obviously in the 2022, take a business online, pivot the business. You're now seeing that obviously more and more customers are willing to do that, have Zoom meetings, whatever it is, they're just willing to, and it helps everybody, even a local business. If you could have a few Zoom meetings, it kills way more drive time, especially in some of these metropolis areas where it's, you're spending hours of time in traffic, just driving 15 miles in LA, some times of the day, versus in that 15, 20 minutes, you can hammer out 3 or 4 conversations on Zoom or FaceTime or whatever, and so, because
if you're under 45 minutes, there's no cost to it too either, so
exactly,
these are things that are accessible to you without any outlay.
Right. Dude, exactly. I mean, that's the other thing, like I would say about the podcast. Hey, we both get value from the show. We record it. There's tons of value for the listeners, but there's not a ton of outlet on you. You don't have to spend a ton of time on planes to come see me and sit down with me. Our interviews are awesome. Joe Rogan's interviews are amazing. There's a place for that. But this is the best part about Zoom and things like that, is it creates that transparency, as well as we get to have that conversation. We get to have it documented. We get to record it, but there's not the main cost on wear and tear on our bodies. And like you said, the main cost of the car these days, with gas and all these things, et cetera, it's $6 a gallon right now in Cali, baby. So just to drive, an hour is got to be burning your gas, So yeah, you're right. I mean, it's just, it's a new world.
Well, you don't have to worry about recharging your car during a blackout either.
Right. Exactly. Oh, yeah. I know, bro. Yeah, we got those coming probably this year, man, because it's been a hot season. All right. We're almost going to hit 90 degrees today out here in California, Central California already. This is early, man. That's pretty early for that.
Man, we were still having snow yesterday.
Hey, we'll take some of that snow, baby. Send it our way. The best invention on earth is diverting that weather over our way, baby, to Cali. And get some of that rain, get that weather. We're ready for it. We're ready for it. It's going to happen. And obviously, over time, technology and things do solve some of these things, as well as entrepreneurships. They become way more resourceful around water these days. Farmers are real resourceful these days. Using technology about how they spray and how they water and how they fly the drones now to spray the crops and just so many different things. So, that's the other thing that comes from when you have a necessity, an asset is going away, you start to get hella smart about, hey, I got to get real resourceful, baby. How to, because you have all these, resources of technology, you got to find ways to use it. And so you're seeing that more and more.
What's that old saying? Necessity is the mother of invention, right?
Boom. That's it right there. I'm hitting it on the head. That's what I say about climate change and all these things too. I believe that at some point we will all more and more, we'll figure it out. That's my optimism. That's the optimistic side of my belief as an entrepreneur. And as you see Tesla, and these incredible companies that are created from people that weren't government. It was just a private person helping the government, helping the, people in a way by putting solar on the roofs and putting, solar in their cars and actually doing it though, where people are driving these damn cars, not just wasted projects. We got many projects out here in Cali where they did high-speed rail. I can see it sometimes when I'm driving around the corner here. Dude, you're talking hundreds of millions of dollars, brother, right? Nothing. It's like, it's a graffiti wall. Like it's the biggest embarrassment you've ever seen, because it doesn't happen as well when it's just this big thing. It happens well with entrepreneurs like yourself that's been doing it since we're 13, that's in our blood, that you're willing to
2 million ton paperweight, right?
Right, bro. It makes me sick to my stomach, dude. But we can't fix that problem. You can't fight that. You have to move on beyond it. But it's the beautiful thing about entrepreneurship is we eventually, like you said, necessity gets that drive, gets that invention, gets that energy to get something. And so I know that there's two people or some females or a man and a female or whoever it is, they're working on all these problems in a garage, like Mark Cuban says, to help solve these big problems that we have, like water necessity and things like that, as well as obviously all the other beautiful things out there. But now, my man, we're about to take you into the top 10. Are you ready?
Let's roll.
Let's roll, baby. Apple or Android?
If I'm honest, I'm going to say both, but
Let's go.
What am I say? Apple.
You got to test both because you got the engineering mind. You got to have both, right?
Oh, my wife laughs. I got a stack of tablets and phones on my desk that I use, of all the different like major manufacturers and models I got to test on.
I was about to say,
a kid broke another phone. Okay, let me just grab one of these old ones here. Here you go.
Perfect. Hey, throw this in me. Let's go, baby. Next phone. What's next? But Apple, I do believe, does a great job to try to protect their data, which is why I do love data. I don't know a lot about it, but I do believe that. And then obviously there's tons of benefits of Android and their open platforms and so many different things for the engineering community.
Different strokes for different folks, right? And Apple's the one you want to use it. I always want to have a phone that just works when I want to use it. Android's the one that's like, okay, I like to tinker. I want to be able to, I want to tailor this experience to exactly the way I want it to be. Android's your guy, right?
Right.
But you say, I just want to make a phone call, surf the web, whatever. You just rely on Apple to just work.
And hopefully protect you and not get crazy, any issues or something like that. Netflix or YouTube if you're thinking about content? Netflix or YouTube?
Probably YouTube, although I got both, of course. I'm an agnostic guy when it comes to tech. I got a Mac and I got a PC, both sitting on the same desk, right?
I love that, dude. I'm all about that too. I think that people get too stuck in their zones of like sides and teams, and instead of just embracing all that. Plus, you for specifically, my man, you live the tech, so you got to have all those different devices, and it's fun for you. I can only imagine.
Well, that's like they say, if the only tool you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail, right? Well, I kind of go take that and flip it around. It's like, I prefer to have the whole toolbox, and that way, whatever my clients need, I already have the tool available to do it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And you know it, and you know how to use it and things like that too. Cause if you don't have an Android phone and you just try to hop on Android, it's a whole different experience. And so you'd be
exactly
spending half a day just trying to figure that out. Instagram or Facebook for social?
Facebook.
Chicken or steak if you're thinking about a good meal?
Oh, steak every day.
Let's go, baby. Laptop or smartphone?
Probably smartphone. Laptop is easier to replace.
Yes, smartphone has too much stuff. Two-factor alone, man, that's a big deal. Spotify or Pandora?
Probably use Pandora more, although again, I've got both.
Yeah, Pandora is cool because you don't have to think anything. You just set it to the mood and
exactly. Pandora is great for like the background music of I'm just gonna put this on and sleep for the day. But then there's certain shows and things like that I like to listen to. It's like, okay, that's Spotify, or why listen to a specific song, specific album,
right?
Spotify,
right? Yeah, they both have great utility. Spotify has just become more and more a beast, man, with all these podcasts and so many different things for content. I think they're going to be a competitor to YouTube at some point. Movies or video games?
Movies.
I
don't have time for video games anymore, unfortunately.
Right, the deep dive. The deep dive is
I got Xbox sitting there that I don't think I've touched in 6 months.
Dude, I honestly took down my Xbox 360 and because my son keeps knocking it down. He's 1 year old. He's at the age where he wants to crawl and hop on everything. And I'm about to sell it on my eBay store, guys, because you know what? It's like, what are you gonna do, man? It's just sitting there. You know what I mean? Like it's been sitting there. Let it go to a good home, and when the kids are ready for the video games, I'm sure it'll be an Xbox, whatever, 10,000 times better than the 360. So
every time I turn the thing on to go play it, it's like, hey, I got a half an hour. I'll go play a game. I turn the thing on. It's like, oh, there's a critical update.
Right.
It needs to be downloaded.
Right.
It's gonna take 45 minutes. Like, okay, well, there goes the time I had to play a thing.
So true. You got to update this thing, right, man? You got to update me, baby. Reading
you can't
books?
play this game until you run this update.
or we're gonna explode. Like your phone, man. When they with the new updates on the Apple, man, they just slow it down a little more. Slow it down a little more. You got to get that new phone. Reading books,
just twist the crank.
Right? It's like, hey, you guys know how to slow these things down, right? Yeah, you do. Reading books or listening to books if you're thinking about content and knowledge.
I think probably reading more than listening. Although
nice.
There's a lot of good video content out there too on the tech side of things. That comes really handy.
You follow certain YouTube channels and you kind of just listen to them and learn.
Certain YouTube channels, lots of Udemy as well. Great learning source.
Udemy is amazing. Absolutely. If you're thinking about diversifying up the portfolio, stocks, real estate, or I've been throwing in crypto.
Ooh, probably real estate.
There you go.
Although I did do crypto, paid for a couple of nice vacations, but cashed out. There you go. Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. Kicking myself now though, because that was back in 2016, 2017, when it was still cheap.
Right.
Well, relatively speaking.
Relatively, yeah. I know. I got in 2015, and I seen the whole damn up and down, up and down, up and down. I have held it along the way, but I have cashed out at times where I'm like, dang, boy, you should have kept it, boy. But hey, that's like most things. The cash out's worth it. You never know the upside, and you're taking a little off the table. And you get to enjoy it. I went to Italy and New York.
It's the bird in the hand's worth two in the bush, right?
Yeah, dude. It's like,
okay, hey, if you came out of it in the black, you're doing good. Right.
100%.
I had a bunch of XRP that went into the toilet after the government got involved. Yeah. And so it's like, man, I kicked myself on that one. Although, of course, after I dumped it, now it's starting to come back again.
Yeah.
So
it's coming back. Yeah. I think all of them have utility. It's just a matter of being patient and knowing that it's very volatile, like even more than stocks, meaning that it goes up more and down more. But overall average, if you are interested, guys, my biggest suggestion is like anything, just averaging slowly. Put $20 a day, put $100 a day, whatever your income level is. Put $1,000 a day if you can do that. But you just learn by slowly dollar cost averaging in to whatever you want to do. But I always stay with some of the top BTC, Ethereum, because everything kind of runs through Ethereum. And then beyond that, there's so many different projects out there. But there's so many different things you can do in real estate too. That if you don't have money. But in real estate, we had a few guests on about using credit cards to finance their first couple deals, and just so many. There's creative ways to basically use financing. And it's not a matter usually a lot of times of the financing. It's usually a matter of finding that deal that you can actually make a little money on if you even have to finance it, and a lot of times people aren't ready for that hard work. So a lot of in the research and grind and like you, my man, the experience of actually knowing how to do these things. When you're waking up or getting ready for your day today, which one would you rather go to if you were to go on vacation? Oceans or lakes?
Probably the ocean. I live on Lake Michigan here, so
it's a beautiful lake.
I live with that. It is, but man, it is cold.
Oh yeah, right. The wind. I always remember it's super windy up there.
Even in the mid-July, August, that water never gets warmer than like 75 degrees. Unless you're in the real shallow parts. So it's like it's not anything you want to go jumping into in real soon. Yeah, but it is a beautiful, beautiful view.
Beautiful, dude. I went to Mackinac Island a few times when I was a kid, and
that's awesome. Yeah,
cool experience, really cool experience, and takes you back in time in a way. When you're waking up,
enjoy the fudge.
Oh yeah, oh dude, fire, fudge, fire, all that. We were having so much fun on that island. Me and my brother, my sister, and we had my cousins. It was a long time ago, but 1999. This is when I graduated high school, 1999. When you're waking up for your days, my man, you're getting yourself ready, pumped, energized for the day. Why do you love being you, Mr. Nick Collins?
Probably this thing is I love what I do for a living. One of the lessons, probably the best lessons my dad gave me when I was growing up was, find something you enjoy doing and figure out a way to make money at it.
Right.
So, I as much as I kind of, lucked into it, fell into it because, my original goals were shifted.
Right.
At the end of the day, I love what I do for a living. I enjoy the unique challenges that comes with it. It's different every day. I'm not just, some cog in the wheel doing the same repetitive thing over and over and over again. Every day is a new challenge. Every day is a new beginning. So I love that.
So key. In digital marketing and engineering and tech, it's always going to be changing, baby. We're never the changing. The algorithms are always changing. Something's changing, baby. And
you take a 2-month vacation, you're starting all over again.
Oh yeah. The biggest thing, what you did, even like what I've even tried to do with some of my with my business and some of my businesses was pivot, and being willing to pivot during tough times. If one thing's down, pivot, baby. And so, and being willing to do that.
Well, it's like so easy to fall in a trap with like digging in your heels. It's like, nope, if I just keep on this path, it's eventually will pay off.
Or keep reinvesting. I was thinking
it doesn't always work that way.
Right. I was thinking maybe should I just, like obviously, reinvest more, like take money out of my own personal stuff, throw it back into this business. And, I didn't, thank God, obviously, because the business has kind of come back on its own organically in a way, slowly over time. We're kind of building traction back, obviously, after being closed and having clients shut down for a year or two, due to the different categories of business they were in, water parks and some of these, et cetera, entertainment facilities.
Yeah. I had the same thing with the airline I was working with. They got kicked. They got kicked so hard. Basically, if it wasn't directly related to keeping a plane in the air, it got shut down,
Right. Dude, it was crazy, man. You're right, dude. So shout out to the entrepreneurs that are willing to pivot too. Do you think you'll ever retire from your business, tech, coding, learning, entrepreneurship?
Well, I'm sure I'll die eventually, but before then, I honestly, I'd probably to back it off probably a little bit, like hand management over to somebody else, let them handle the stuff I don't like doing.
Right.
But I don't think I'll ever be completely out of it. I do enjoy like doing like woodworking and stuff like that on the side. I find that very therapeutic, working with those kinds of earthen elements.
Nice.
So
that's cool.
I enjoy doing that. So I'd probably set up a machine shop and do some more of that. But
hobby biz.
I don't think I'd ever completely turn off. Yeah.
Got to have something, baby. I think most entrepreneurs after 400 something shows, 425 I think episodes now, almost every single one, even if they did turn off, sold out, cashed out. Big cash out. Some of these folks that I've had, multi-million, hundreds of millions of dollars, obviously paid back their investors. They didn't keep it all, but they kept a good portion of it. And they found out, hey, a couple of days on the golf course, doing, get a massage every day, go to the gym every day. It's just boring, no matter what your age. And so I think a lot of us that have that entrepreneurship bug or it's in us, we want to have something, like you said, the woodworking business or something, something that you go to.
Perpetual vacation is really no fun,
Right.
It's just one of those things. It gets old after a while.
Totally.
My family and I, we went to Disney for 6 weeks. And,
oh, wow.
By week 6, and we were ready to be home. We're like, what? As great as Disney is, and this is like pre-pandemic and stuff.
Right.
As great as all this stuff is, it gets old,
Totally, bro. You've already been on those rides. You've already seen it all. It's like, honestly, I always say too about people that live by the ocean. Maybe you feel differently, but sometimes I feel like they don't appreciate it as much as if you get to come occasionally, pop up to the ocean and see a beautiful ocean. You just kind of take it for granted, just like any of us do. We drive a nice car. We kind of just take it for granted. Someone's breaking down today.
It falls in the background. Yeah. It just comes noise.
Right. It's like you just hop in, the car turns on, no big deal. Someone else's car doesn't turn on every time. They got to freaking figure out the wire of the battery, today, right now, as we're listening and recording this show, someone's going through that right now. And so I always remind myself of those beautiful, it's not easy, baby. We work hard for this. It's not easy to do what we're doing, but just to have always that gratitude mindset around those things. Cause it's so true. Many things we have are just blessings that once you get to beyond financial freedom, you get your business going and things like that. It creates so much levels of opportunity that you never want to turn it off. Even if we get a pandemic, even if we get shut down in many ways, we still fighting, baby. Is there a routine on how you start your day?
There is, although, it's probably not, I've listened to your podcast, all these guys like, oh yeah, I started off the day, like to, go meditate and all these things. It's like, man, I got kids. I don't have time for that stuff in the morning. So I'm taking the dogs out, getting kids fed, getting them ready for school,
right?
And then hopefully sometime in a reasonable time of the day, I can be able to get in my office and get back to work.
Yeah, I think was Jeff Bezos. I've been seeing more stuff about him, and he protects his mornings so he can have that time with his kids, knowing that it's crazy and chaotic, and then he schedules
it's really so important too. I mean, being involved in your kids' lives.
Absolutely.
I saw a statistic that said, having both parents involved in the kids' lives is like the single greatest determining factor for those kids being successful when they grow up. More than your economic status, more than any other factor.
Absolutely.
Is having both parents involved. Whatever that looks like, right? But having both parents there involved in the kids' lives, the kids know they're important, and they have a relationship with both parents is so key.
Oh, dude, yeah, priceless, bro. I'm making a huge sacrifice in my family's life to do that, and I know there's nothing you can ever do, like you said, for a child's life, but do that. Especially in these days and time where you don't have to be on planes and trains and automobiles to create business. Business can come to you, baby. I literally list these cars on eBay. And they'll be selling today, baby. One of these F1 cars, because F1's hot right now. The whole point is that business comes to us, and to take advantage of that, lean into that. I do, because I'm a pop up.
Absolutely.
And I want to be there for those moments as much as I can, like you, my dude. And you're so right. It's so important.
It can be fun too. Sitting there in a meeting. I remember a couple of years ago, I'm sitting there on the beach on the Gulf of Mexico. I think it was on Clearwater Beach or somewhere thereabouts. Ooh. And I'm sitting there literally on the beach in a chair with my laptop, having a Zoom meeting with a client.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And they're in Chicago. This is like January. They're in Chicago. They got like snow behind them. The sky is dark, and it's really dreary. And they connect to the Zoom meeting. They see me there. I got like palm trees behind me and stuff like that. I was like, "Hey, how's it going?" And I got like the double one finger salute from them.
Let's go, baby.
Like you suck. I was like, "Hey, living the dream."
Living the dream, baby. Yeah, because that's true. I mean, you can literally do everything through the phone technology, Zoom, everything can come to you. And I always say that that's the best part about it today, but it's also the worst part too. So you got to learn how to put it down, turn off the notification, pings, dings,
balance,
too, as well. So it's like the double-edged sword, right? As entrepreneurs too. Couple more last questions for you, because I love your energy, love your positivity, and I always take notes. But hey, boy, I got a page load of notes on you. Do you have any favorite apps or tools that help you run the business?
Probably the one I use the most is Slack, actually.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so Slack is such a great tool for communication, keeping everyone on the same page. Email is great, but man, things get buried so easily. You get all that junk coming in,
right?
All that noise.
Dude, absolutely.
Hey, if you want to get to a test, see how many emails you can get. Sign up on a single marketer's email list, or even worse, buy one of their info products,
right?
And you will be on everybody's list under the sun. So crazy, email things get buried so quickly and easily, but Slack is just a good way of focusing on the communication at hand,
right?
And keeping everyone on the same page.
Yeah, and you have the email, and you can keep that open too, and you guys know what's going on. And you're right, just tons of extra emails that don't need to happen. And obviously Slack and Teams and Zooms and everything. There's so many different ways to kind of manage your team. And but yeah, Slack is obviously the leader and a great company, baby. If you could sit down for a steak dinner tonight with anyone in the world and they're coming to you, my man, who are you going to sit down with tonight?
Oh, that's a tough one. Honestly, I'd probably say my wife, just because we don't get a lot of time. Just the two of us. You got two small kids.
Oh,
it sucks everything out of you, and it's really hard to get that time alone.
Totally, bro. I totally understand that. We do a lot of date nights with the kids. It's not the same though, right? It's not the same. We try to have a little wine or do something fun, but it's not the same. It's not the same. You're keeping them from coloring on something or choking themselves or throwing the food on the ground or something and going crazy, and obviously not throwing a fit and blah 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 at the same time, no matter what your kid's age.
It's funny, when you have kids, or let me back up. When you're single and you go out to eat, you hear all these kids like fussing and making a bunch of noise in the background. A lot of people, it's really easy to get irritated and be like, right. Oh man, why can't they keep their kids quiet and stuff?
Right.
After you have kids, you're sitting there just going, well, at least it's not mine.
Yeah, exactly. Like, thank God that my kids are just chilling chilling right now. And if they are, if it's your kid, you're just like, I'm sorry, guys, we're having a breakdown day today. People mostly understand for the most part, but obviously, and obviously after the last couple of years, kids are just getting acquainted to being back around. We were seeing that more and more, and it's good for them to get back acquainted and going to restaurants and having fun again. And especially out here in Cali, man, because we've been shut down, baby, shut down. Is there a book that
we were really fortunate? Our house backs right up to the park of our neighborhood.
Oh, nice.
And so our kids were able to go right into the backyard and be able to play with other kids and stuff in the neighborhood, even during the shutdowns, even when we had the shelter in place, all that kind of stuff was going on.
Right.
It's like they could be right in their backyard playing with the neighbor kids, Totally. So it was, the community became so much more important,
Oh, absolutely.
During that time.
We were definitely doing that too, man. More and more, just because we didn't have much else to do, but on beyond that, just to make sure the kids were getting that interaction as much as they possibly could. So that's a blessing for you, dude, to have that so close to you, because some people don't have that close to them and they have to drive many miles or they just don't do it. So, or it's not important to them, but yeah, I think that getting that in activity is so critical. Is there a book that has changed your life? You either reread, sticks to your soul, or just, you like a lot?
If I had to pick one, and it's a tough one, but I think I'd have to broaden it a little bit and saying a lot of the stuff by Zig Ziglar.
Oh shit, that would be great.
Been really, really influential to me. And he's got so many good books. Over the Top, of course, is probably like at the top of the list, but he's got so much good stuff that And I don't know if you've ever seen him talk. He's like so down to earth,
Right.
You see some of these guys, the Grant Cardones and Gary Vee. And these guys are big personalities, right?
True.
But Zig was just kind of like hey, let's have a conversation. Here's how it is. Is so laid back and down to earth. Totally. And I really appreciated that kind of that tone and personality. It's kind of like, hey, it doesn't, you don't have to be flashy. You don't have to get in people's faces.
The showmanship.
Do the hard sell.
Right.
You just come out there and say, hey, look, I'm here to help you. How can I help make your day better? And that's really just the keys, how can I help you to have a better day, to help you do your thing better?
Right.
And that's my sole concern. That's my primary concern. The rest of it will take care of itself. And that's a huge thing, to me, as far as, inspiration that, you don't have to be flashy. You don't, because I don't mind being, in the sales role, that kind of thing, but I'd much rather just sit down and have a conversation with someone saying, hey, what's going on? What are you struggling with? Let's put our heads together. See if I can even just brainstorm, come up with some ideas of what you can do, that'll help you out. If it's something I can do to help you, great. If it's something that's better for someone else, fine. At the end of the day, I'm just here to help you guys do better.
Yeah, less of the selling and less of I think the educational sell is the best sell. Like we're just educating and you're just, hey, I'm here for you. If we can work together, here we go. If we can't, no worries. Take my ideas, run with it. Whatever you got to do.
It's like one of the things that we do is in any big project we embark on, we always go through a discovery process. We call it the initial fitting, and keeping with our Taylor metaphor. But it's really about having a really deep conversation with them about what their needs are, where their struggles, where are these holes that they're trying to fill. And we tell them right off the bat, look, there is a cost to doing that because it takes a few weeks, to be able to really, really do this right.
Right.
But it's like, if you want to go, if you decide to go with somebody else, we're going to give you a blueprint you can take to anybody.
Smart.
And they can execute it.
Smart.
If you choose to go with us, we'll just take the price off of that discovery off of the total bill,
off the service. Totally makes sense though, because you're not giving them all your value with them just taking it. That happens a lot in the agency business.
Oh, I admit I fell into that early on. When I was first getting going.
Me too.
I was out. You get to this mindset where you're trying to impress your customer, right? All your knowledge. And you end up basically, giving them the keys to everything.
Oh, shit, yeah. And
then you're going, man, I hope they pay me for any of that, some of that,
Right.
And like so many of them do. There's a lot of fishing expeditions out there where people are just, out there. It's like
fishing for good ideas.
Getting some Yeah, they get bids, or
Right.
you know,
Getting RFPs, a bunch of
it's
different agencies.
RFPs from from 50 different agencies, so they get all this free brainstorming,
Totally.
and then they go, you know what, we decided to go a different direction.
We're gonna go.
And then they
internal.
got this, then they got their Rolodex. So okay, hey, let's try this idea. That one looks pretty good,
Dude,
and they didn't pay a
absolutely.
dime for it.
Absolutely.
And I got bit by that one so many times.
Oh yeah. Dude.
Or doing work for startups that find out, they'll tell you, oh yeah, we get funding and all this kind of stuff.
Right.
And,
Right. Give me on the
they
back
call
end.
us into them. They're like, hey, can we do equity instead or something like that? And
It's gonna go to zero, baby. Here's 100 million shares.
Yeah. So
Right,
you got to protect yourself from that.
Protect yourself. That's smart though. That's smart. Saying, hey, I'll do the work for you guys. We'll do the initial research. You guys can take these ideas, run with them, whatever you want to do. And obviously the back end for you guys would be, hey, well, if you guys stay with us, we'll just credit you off your campaign, off your overall budget with us monthly, whatever that looks like. Super smart, dude. I like that strategy. I like that, baby. Nick, I appreciate you, bro. I appreciate you. I think that not only do you have a ton of soul, passion, energy, you're a great dad, but obviously you got a shit ton of knowledge, brother. And not only are you bringing that to the biggest level of people in your life, but now you're bringing it, helping also small to medium businesses as well, helping service a variety of clients. But the small and medium, I think, are there's tons more of them. And so I see the abundance for you, my man, is going to be continually fruitful. Where can we send our listeners as far as the website? Where's the best place for us to learn more about the business and take advantage of this?
Yeah, so just go check out our website. It's Sartorius Digital. Or of course, we're also on Facebook, LinkedIn, all the major social media outlets there. But sartoriusdigital.com is probably the best place to start. You can get in touch with us on there. And I'll tell you right now, there's 800 around there, but it goes directly to me. So
nice.
That's one of the things. When our customers with us, they're working directly with me, the owner of the company.
Nice.
There's no middle management they're working with. If they need to have something happen, I make it happen.
I love that, Nick. I love that, man. Working with the boss man himself. Well, dude, like I said, the world's full of abundance. I hope and wish continued abundance for you. You've already built so much for yourself, but like anyone in the world, we deserve a little more, my dude, and you deserve it, my man. So let's send some vibes your way. If anyone's interested, please go check out the website. We'll put that in the show notes. But folks, you've been hanging out with Mr. Nick Collins and Travis Too Tall and Huff. We want to thank you again for your time today, and let's keep being real. What another epic episode. And if you enjoyed the episode today, can you please do me a favor and subscribe to our podcast, The Be Real Show, on iTunes or your favorite podcast platform. And also take a little time today, if you don't mind, and give your boy T Huff a review. I would really super appreciate it. And thank you so much for listening today. Do you want to get featured on podcasts, guys? You can be a guest. And that's right. You have a story, and the people, the good folks at I Love Podcasts, that's ILUV podcasts.com, do that every single day. This is a new company, guys, in the space of podcast agency. And they realize a lot of the people in the space it's just a commodity, and they don't care. And these folks care. And I literally love Kenny and the team at I Love Podcasts, and they are doing it right for their customers. So you guys can be a guest on a show. ILovePodcast.com. That's ILUV podcast.com. Let's go.